guitar players think they need more practice time, more scales, more exercises, more hours. But recently I was driving to a gig listening to a podcast, and it really stopped me in my tracks and made me start thinking about everything I was doing on a much deeper level. And not because it was about guitar, it wasn't, it was about business. But the lesson applies to anything guitar related that you're doing, and in particular for today, guitar practice. And I think most guitar players completely misunderstand it. I spend a lot of time driving for teaching, wedding gigs, function gigs, theatre tours, and if you're anything like me, a good drive isn't complete without good coffee or a good podcast. Now, every week on my travels, I listen to Graham Cochrane's podcast. He's the guy from the recording revolution who's now moved into the business world. And in one of his recent episodes, he talks about the 80-20 rule. Most people get the basic idea. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. And in this episode, he kind of flips it around, and this is the really interesting point that hit home for me. I made a note of what he says, and I want you to think about your guitar playing right now. Instead of asking what 20% creates the biggest results, he asks what 80% of my effort is creating very little result at all. And immediately I started thinking about my business, my guitar lessons, myself as just being a guitar player. And one thing in particular was guitar practice and how I could help all of my students. Because here's what happens. Most guitar players don't have a practice problem. The intent and the effort to get better is always there, but instead have a focus problem. We spend a lot of time focusing on things that feel good, that feel productive, whether that's watching guitar videos, reading gear reviews, tweaking sounds on your pedal board, searching for the next best overdrive, scrolling Instagram guitar clips. None of these things are bad. I do all of them. But the problem is when we mistake those things as guitar practice, because they're not. They might support your guitar playing, they might inspire you, they might be enjoyable, but they're not guitar practice, and that's a huge distinction. Practice is something different. Practice is working on a skill that you couldn't do yesterday. And I think we've all fallen into this trap from time to time where you sit down for an hour, 20 minutes watching a guitar lesson, you feel pumped, you feel inspired to practice, you're then excited, you're dialing in your sound on your guitar amp, 10 minutes looking for a backing track, then 10 minutes of noodling, playing something you've done before, and then just 5 minutes of something that's challenging. At the end, you feel great, I've practiced for an hour, but did you? Or did you just spend 5 minutes practicing and then 55 minutes working around the edges? That's basically the 80-20 rule. A lot of activity, very little progress. Now, there's nothing wrong with noodling like this, just the question is whether it's actually moving you forward. These days life is pretty busy, teaching takes up a lot of my week, creating content takes time, and with constant gigs coming in there's always songs to learn, set lists to review, and honestly trying to get an hour of practice in a day is really challenging. Sometimes I don't get any time at all. But the one thing I always nearly do every day is my 5-minute warm-up. 2 exercises, one being chromatic and the other being a spread triad arpeggio based exercise that moves through the cycle of fourths. I actually posted this video a little while ago, and if you've seen it you know exactly what I mean, but if you haven't I'll post a link to it in the description. But even if that's all I get to do that day, it's a great maintenance exercise. I know by playing through those exercises up to speed I'm maintaining a certain standard of guitar playing. Then if I have additional time, I'll focus on one thing. Not 10 things, just one thing, one concept. And this is great for anyone who's really struggling with time. Just focus on one thing, one concept, and really try to dial it in. For example, this week I'm working on, just grab my guitar, working on trying to add some more interest to my blues playing. For example, I've been exploring harmonic minor over the blues. Joe Bonamassa does this quite a bit. And specifically using C harmonic minor over a G7 blues. Because G7 obviously is the 1 chord of a G blues, but also functions as the 5 chord of C harmonic minor. It creates a really interesting sound. So let's hear that over a backing track. So here's a classic blues lick in the key of G. Now if we add some C harmonic minor to this, this sounds a little darker, a little unexpected. But here's the important thing, the concept itself is tiny, but I can spend an entire week exploring it, creating phrases, experimenting, trying to make it sound musical, and that's where progress really happens, not by learning 50 things, but trying to understand one thing properly. So next time you pick up the guitar, don't ask yourself, what else can I add? Instead, ask yourself this one question. I wrote this one down. What am I spending time on that creates very little progress? Because the biggest breakthroughs in your playing may not come from another exercise, but instead removing something that never needed to be there in the first place. Life can be so busy, and the whole point of the 80-20 rule is more of a mindset to help restructure and refine your practice time so you can get the most progress out of the time you've already got. Remember, watching guitar lessons isn't practice, tweaking pedals isn't practice, searching for the latest gear isn't practice. All useful, but not practice. And if you've got a practice habit that's working really well for you, let me know in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear it. And if you want the tabs and backing tracks for the lick I played earlier in the video, that's available on my Patreon, which is linked below. But until next time, I hope this has really helped, and I shall see you very soon.